Man, oh Manischewitz, there's a lot going on. And, you know, every day with this president, there's a lot going on, and most of it's great. Great. The things he's doing, just fantastic. Of course, the establishment hates it, but we have a lot of contempt for them. But before I go there, happy Monday to you. Thank you for watching Life, Liberty, and Levin. Thank you for the folks that came out in Reston at Barnes & Noble. We had a fantastic time, and Barnes & Noble did a great job. Great job, brand new store, and we enjoyed it immensely. And thanks to those of you who are still purchasing the book in the retail stores and online on Amazon.com. Thank you very, very much. I think I had 8 interviews today and more to come on various radio spots. Also, I was on Stephen A. Smith's podcast, and as soon as we have it, I will send you the link. He's a dear friend, and it was an excellent discussion. He's a very smart guy. Excellent discussion. Now, folks, maybe I was the only one to say this. I said it here behind this microphone. I said it on my Fox show. I said it on Blaze. That this Epstein matter, where are we going with this? What is the end of this? No, Trump didn't do anything untoward. If they had some big names, they would have revealed them over there at the Department of Justice. And, of course, if the Democrats and any big Republicans, including the president, they would have revealed it. So where exactly are we going with this? Now, federal judges ruled that he's not releasing the grand jury information. I'm not surprised by that because it's almost considered sacrosanct. It is a serious crime if somebody leaks information out of a grand jury. Why? Because truly the grand jury is the opposite of due process. You don't have a right to counsel. It's the prosecutor's baby, and they can push hard on a number of fronts. And so people can have their reputations destroyed. It's not a trial. You know, there's no judge. The prosecutor owns it. The whole purpose of a grand jury historically was supposed to be to protect the citizen. I don't think it protects anybody. In fact, I'm not a big fan. But all that said, All that said, I said the Epstein case, well, there's not a lot to this case. Obviously, to the people who were harmed, there's a lot to the case. But that's not what we're talking about, the political dimensions of the case. We had all these people who claim to be influencers, on and on, talking about how this was the big matter, and that if it wasn't resolved, that Donald Trump his ratings would plummet. We had all these people saying that the way Donald Trump is handling this, he's going to upset MAGA. In fact, the MAGA base is furious with him. All these people saying the Epstein matter would cause us to lose the midterm elections. You had Carlson talking about this, Bannon talking about this, Marjorie Taylor Greene talking about this, Joe Rogan talking about this, all the rest of them. All the rest of them. And they were dead wrong. All of them. All of them. Others, too. I just can't remember them off the top of my head. I want you to listen to this from CNN. Unfortunately, we have to go to CNN to hear it, but nonetheless, this guy, their data guy, Enten is actually quite good. I want you to listen carefully to this, and this is example number 4 billion of how these phony influencers aren't influencers at all, how they push their own agendas, how they try to hype up their audiences and fearmonger and all the rest. I just want you to take a listen to this. From today, Cut 21, go.
And there are new numbers this morning showing something of a shift in how Americans are feeling about this. Harry Enten, here to help. What are you seeing in these numbers?
Yeah, I would say that this is, from at least a political point of view, quickly turning into a dud of a story. What am I talking about here?
Which is wild.
Which is wild.
This has been for 3 weeks now.
Exactly. Take a look here. Google searches for Epstein down 89% versus just 3 weeks ago. Falling through the floor. It is no longer the top term searched alongside Donald Trump's name. That's been trading off between Taros and Vladimir Putin, with obviously the meeting coming up later this week. But at this particular point, the American people's interest in this story it's quickly becoming something of a nothing burger.
So out of sight, out of mind maybe is applying here a little bit, but has it impacted, have you seen numbers that has impacted Trump's popularity, favorability, anything?
No, not really. I mean, take a look here. Let's take a look at the overall numbers. Trump's approval rating in July of 2025, it was 45%. It's still well within that margin of error here at 44%. And you compare that to where he was in his first term at this point. He was at 37%. So he's 7 points higher, very much in a different political universe now, significantly higher in terms of his overall approval rating than he was at this point in his first term. And more than that, among Republicans, his approval rating is near a record high, hovering right at about that 90% mark. So no, he hasn't lost any of that base. And when it comes to that center of the electorate, he's basically holding on there. And his overall approval rating, 44%, is pretty gosh darn good for him considering where he was at this point in term number one.
What do you think is behind it? Why there hasn't been more movement?
Yeah, why hasn't there been more movement? I think this is pretty simple. Take a look here. Nation's top issue is the Epstein case. This is the number of respondents. This isn't the percentage of respondents. This is the number of respondents. In our last CNN poll, look at this. 0 respondents said that the Epstein case was the top issue. How about among independents? 0 independents said that. And among Republicans, and therefore overall, just a single one. So yes, there used to be a lot of interest in this story, but the bottom line is that even amongst those who had high interest in this story, it wasn't something that they thought was all that important. And as I said at the beginning, the interest in this story has fallen off the table.
Which also, when you look at this and you compare it to just the attention that Capitol Hill was giving it, Donald Trump supporters were giving it, congressional committees were giving it, it is incongruous.
I would just say this. Donald Trump has some of the best political instincts of any politician I've seen. And on this particular issue, you see it full well and clear because he has been saying, you know, this is not an issue. And it turns out that a lot of the American public actually seem to agree with him.
And we're back live. And if you've been listening to this program, most of you have, most of your longtime listeners, but even if you're a new listener over the last couple of months, I took that position right out of the box. Not because I'm Nostradamus, but because you and I have a lot in common. I'm not trying to drive the news. I'm not trying to drive issues. We'll talk about them at length. If there's a history related to them, we'll get into history. If there's a philosophy related to them, we'll get into philosophy. But I tell you, every time, these phony influencers, many of whom are out of the closet, America haters, Jew haters, now Christian haters, don't follow them. Don't follow them. I don't care how big they say their podcasts are. I don't care if they used to be one of us. These are bad people, stupid people who are pushing agendas that are not your agenda. They're not your agenda. And they stab President Trump in the back. And they're still doing it. They're still doing it. And their hope, beyond hope, is that the Epstein matter will turn into something. It's as if it was when our bombers, our stealth bombers, hit Iran, hit those nuclear sites and obliterated them. You could almost feel like these individuals, many of whom I named, wanted us to fail because they wanted to be demonstrated to be right. It's as if they wanted us to fail. It's as if they want Hamas to win. It's as if they and the radical left media and the Islamists and the Muslims are now on the same page. These are bad people. These are stupid people. They're not your kind of people. They're simply not. And this is why I wanted to play this. The Epstein matter doesn't matter to anybody. If something is breaking that's going to come out of it, I guess we'll hear about it at some point. But what is the end game here? I said several weeks ago, the Obama-Hillary effort to destroy this republic and undermine the last election, that is in 2016, I should say, that's the big issue. And the Epstein matter, at least temporarily, was taking attention away from that. Now, that issue is not going to go away, nor should it, because it involved the Republic. So none of this has had any impact on Donald Trump, any negative impact. So all those podcasters, and some of them who went to the White House, Mr. President, you got to get in front of this. It's going to kill you with the base. They do the same thing when it comes to Israel. You know, Mr. President, it's going to kill you. It's going to kill you with MAGA. 90% of Republicans support Donald Trump. 90%. 94% supported us hitting those nuclear bases. Doesn't get any bigger than that. The overwhelming majority of conservatives and Republicans support the state of Israel and despise Hamas. Despite all the static, despite all the reporting, and despite their hard anti-Semitism and Jew hatred, which goes along with their America hatred, which now goes along with their Christian hatred.